Welcome back. It's a part of Maine maritime history that is unknown to many. In October of 1836, a ship headed from New Brunswick to Portland filled with circus animals caught fire and sank.
There's been a book written about the incidents called The Wreck of the Circus Boat Royal Tar. It's just been released. Joining us this morning to talk about that tragedy that took place in Penobscot Bay is author Jane Parks Gardner. Jane, first of all, thanks for coming on.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me.
For the folks that don't know about, give us the backstory of what happened.
So in 1836, a boat was built in New Brunswick, St. John, New Brunswick, and it was used as a ferry that would take people from St. John to Eastport and then down to Portland. And it ran for about 6 months, and in October of that year, they had this special set of passengers, and there was a circus ship, or a circus that had traveled all around Canada and the East Coast, and they ended up needing a ride back to ultimately Boston. And so they loaded up 93 passengers and an entire circus menagerie at that point in time in New Brunswick, and they all got on the ship, and disaster struck about 3 days into the trip, and the boiler of the boat was allowed to accidentally go too low, and it got super duper hot, and the boat erupted in flames.
Wow.
So it was right off of Vinyl Haven, so right out in Penobscot Bay, and unfortunately many people died, and the entire circus died as well.
Oh, what a tragedy. And when did you find out or learn of this story, and talk about sort of the inspiration for the book?
Sure. So when my children were little, they had a wonderful book, children's book by Chris Van Dusen called The Circus Ship, and it's about a ship carrying circus animals that crashed off the coast of Maine, and it has a wonderful ending, and it's beautifully illustrated, but at the end he has a little blurb saying, yeah, this is based on a true story. Mm-hmm. So I did some research. I've decided that I wanted to explore some historical books that I could write and really research it to death, and that was the story I picked. And so this I ended up.
What kind of animals were on board?
There were 2 lionesses in cages, obviously, a wonderful Bengal tiger who was very sweet. There were wildebeest and camels, and the star of the show was an Asian elephant named Mogul. And Mogul was not caged at the time. He was tied to the deck of the boat. And in fact, this is one of the things that sort of made the tragedy even more unfold the way it did, is in order to support his weight on deck, they had to brace the bottom, the floor of the deck underneath, and they added more bracing next to the boiler. So when the boiler became too hot, they had extra fuel underneath there because they had to brace it for the elephant.
Wow, obviously you probably learned so much through your research. I
Yes.
mean, talk about just the amount of work that went into all the research and everything.
It was, I had newspaper articles, I've been to historical societies, I've talked to people, I learned about circuses, I learned about immigrants. It was an incredible amount of work, and it was very difficult for me not to go down a whole bunch of different rabbit holes. But that was one of the most exciting parts about it, is all the stuff I learned from shipbuilding to circuses.
You know so much now, I'm sure. Yeah.
Let's talk about the images too. You have so many maps, pictures of Penobscot Bay, and also posters from the circus. I thought was really interesting in the book.
Yes. So the circus phenomenon in the early 1800s was interesting, and they all had they were called federations, and they all had their different groups. And this ship was part of one, or this circus was part of one out of Boston. And so they had, there are circus museums. I got that image from one in Vermont, and just wonderful posters that I had. And I took many of the photos in the book. I took a trip to Canada last summer and basically traced the route down. So I was able to go to St. John where they did their final performance, and I stood at the dock where they left. So a lot of those photos are mine as well.
Why was that so important for you to kind of visually see, a lot of this?
It put me right there. One of the things I had underestimated was how steep the hills are in St. John, and to think that you're pulling circus wagons down these hills, and the elephant is walking down the hill, and I had learned that I guess he had a very unique way of walking. He would kind of scoot on his butt and drag his hind legs behind him. So I walked down that hill that elephant had walked down, basically to get on the boat, and his final walk down the hill.
Yeah, this is such a big part of Maine history. Again, not a lot of people know about, but the right people know about it because
Yes.
we have a local brewery that made a beer about it.
Yep.
Also, we had a local group back in the 90s write a song about it too.
Yes. The Schooner Fair wrote a wonderful sea shanty about the Royal Tar. They're a little, it's pretty much historically accurate, but
Wow.
it's so much fun. And yep, the brewery, there's a coffee grinder coffee place that has a Royal Tar blend, and so it pops up more than you think.
Wow. What has the response been so far? I know it's newly released, but
Yes, it released at the beginning of last month, and it's been overwhelming. It's been very good, very positive. It's been so much fun. This has been such a fun process for me.
Yeah, the beer's at Sebago too. So
Yes,
pretty
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully a lot of people read the book and
Thank you.
find
I
out
hope so
this thing
too.
about Mariner history in Maine that a lot of people don't know about.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, where can they find the book?
You can get it on my website, which is janepgardner.com. You can buy anywhere books are sold. The publisher also, History Press, you can get it through them.
Wow.
And name of the beer is Royal Tar. It's got, I think, the elephant on it
They
too.
do, yeah,
So
and,
great.
and a zebra, and yeah, oh, they've got, it's a nice stout.
Yeah.
You're into stout.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for joining us
Sure,
and telling
thank you
us
for
more.
having me.